Homeboy Pete Frank with me, and we letting everybody know who got a dream. Yo, stay focused, keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right, nor the wrong.
Your fate is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't lose it like, just look straight. You don't have to fear more.
Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. I am your host, Dr. Yolanda Jerry, and tonight I am excited about our special guest. She's going to be talking about a topic that many of us are doing right now. We're literally doing that right now. So if you're tuning into the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, be sure you tune in to share out and tune in to invite people to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, because I feel to believe that tonight we're going to learn some things that we may not know about, and then also have some nuggets and some tools that we'll be able to hone in on that we might be able to apply to our life today when it comes to dealing with life in general and the things that we have to deal with in today's world as we are sitting here trying to survive COVID-19. So again, please share this broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to go to a quick 30-second break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, where you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their stories. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofits, and ministries were birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world, one story at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Yolanda Jerry.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm your host, Dr. Yolanda. Tonight, I am excited about our guest by the name of Terri Brinston. She's going to be talking about surviving COVID-19. But before we get into her story and what she's going to share with us tonight, I just want to give you a background about who this phenomenal woman is. Terri Brinston struggled with a learning disability and was a special education student throughout grade school. However, after graduating from high school, she embraced that everything she needed was already inside of her. Through God's grace and hard work, Terri became a registered nurse, a teacher, an international motivational speaker, life coach, consultant, and author who thrives on helping people achieve their goals in life. Terri holds a Master of Arts in Education and Administration and Community Leadership and a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. Again, she's a registered nurse, holds a legal nurse consultant certification, and is certified as an American Heart instructor among her professional credentials. In addition to working as a pediatric nurse, Terri has almost 2 decades of experience teaching and consulting with schools, parents, and students. Terri is passionate about the future of our children. She believes that our schools are teaching many valuable skills, but our current system does not address all the aspects necessary for our children to survive, succeed, and thrive in life. Her mission is to facilitate student success by addressing safety, health, and wellness needs that often prevent and delay learning and success. Her unique experience and education has seamlessly bound together to make her a leader in the healthcare and education industry. So look, I'm excited. I know you all are ready to hear what Miss Terri has to say. So we're going to go ahead and welcome her in. All right. How you doing, Miss Terri? How you doing? Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry
Hey,
Show.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank
Awesome,
you.
awesome. Now look, I know that we have your, I just read your bio. Told everybody about your accolades and all the great things that you're doing. But as I always do, I always start my show out with asking my special guests to tell us a little bit about where they're from, a little bit about their childhood, and anything else that you want our viewing audience to know about.
Right, right. Well, I am from Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, living in one of the suburbs, Romulus specifically. And I grew up in Michigan, went to school, had a wonderful family. I was blessed into a wonderful family. As I stated in my bio, I did grow up with some learning disabilities. So I struggled a little bit, learned a little different. And I think it really motivated me to just want to be to strive for more, because I had to really struggle so much when I was a young girl. So yeah, I love Michigan. It's cold, but I'm here with my husband. I've been married for over 30 years. I have 2 grown children, and so just really blessed here in Michigan. Yes.
Wow. Well, look, is it snowing there in Michigan?
Girl, not right now, but it's cold. It's really cold. Sitting
You up there with all of them Great Lakes and stuff. I'm gonna need you to keep all that cold weather up there. Keep it where you
Absolutely.
at. And especially the snow. Don't send no snow down here. Don't
No,
send it down this way.
but it's so beautiful. But yeah, it is. I'm ready to get out of here though.
I hear you. Yeah. I mean, this snow is beautiful. It definitely is a beautiful, it's beautiful to be in it. Now, I will tell you, when I lived in Illinois for 3 years, although I do not like the cold, the snow, I did like going out playing in the snow, making little snowballs and throwing it at my daughter or whoever I could throw it at. But I
Right.
didn't stay out in it long because it can become messy too.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't play in that. You get to a certain age and you don't play in no snow.
I know that's right.
Slipping and sliding and we'll leave that alone.
Right. And you slide, you've been on broke a limb, on cracked the bone. Be like, no, that's all right. I'm gonna keep my little old self right where I need to be in my place.
For sure, for sure.
Well, Terri, thanks so much for being here. I want to give a shout out to some people that are tuning in right now. We have Tina J. Ramsey. We have Terri Brinston. Thanks for tuning in. We also have Miss Patty Fields tuning in from YouTube. We have Miss Ashira Windsor. So thank you all so much for tuning in and share, invite some other people, because tonight we're going to be having a real conversation with Miss Terri about surviving COVID-19. Now, Terri, I know the numbers are rising, and I mean, every day the numbers just keep picking back up. And the crazy part about this is now we have all these different variances. When we had Delta, now we got Omicron. Who knows what we're going to have next? I mean, it's going to be another name. And to be honest with you, I don't think that COVID is ever really going to go away. I think it's something that we're just going to have to learn to live with. Absolutely. And just be mindful of, but how can we be smarter about it? So, and I'm sure you're going to be sharing, a lot of this with us. So I'm going to turn it over to you, because surviving COVID-19, you're here, right? You're here with us. You're still blessed. You're talking. You look beautiful, but some people, over the past couple of years, did not even wake up the next morning. They did not survive COVID-19, and people are still losing loved ones till this day, and still trying to maneuver dealing with this new lifestyle or adjusting to this new lifestyle. So if you will, go ahead and just please start sharing your story with us about, your COVID-19 experience.
Right. So, well, for one, I just want to definitely, my heart goes out to all of the families and who lost loved ones during this time. I still struggle with just thinking about the hundreds and thousands of people who have lost their life due to COVID. And I think it was really the fact that I didn't die. You know, I survived COVID. That makes me be able to speak to you now. I think I talked to you about the fact that I'm sort of the behind the scenes kind of person. And so when I was struck with COVID, and I was in the hospital for about 29 days, and I was on the ventilator where the machine was breathing for me for 15 days. And so during the time when I got COVID, it was the very beginning, like in March of 2020. And so a lot of people, once they got on the vent, they didn't get off. And so when I was when I went into the hospital, the world was normal, right? There was no shutdown. Nobody was in isolation. I am a school teacher full time. They just closed the schools down. And I'm thinking, man, I got COVID vacation, right? And so the very following week, I was in the hospital. And so the world was normal. So when I went to the hospital, the world was normal. When I woke up from being on the vent, my husband was telling me how the world has changed. And so I'm sharing that with you because before COVID, I am an entrepreneur, I'm a teacher. I work with young people, but I've always pushed somebody out in front of my business to kind of promote what I do. And I'm kind of behind the scenes. But I truly believe that after I went through the ordeal, that the Lord was saying, hey, you know what? He allowed me to make it for a reason. And so He allowed me to find my voice. And so that is basically what I'm doing. I'm out here because I had sort of like a survivor's guilt before when I got out the hospital, because I was thinking, Lord, why did I live? Why did I make it through? And so one of the reasons I came to the conclusion is that I have a voice, and He wants me out here talking to people about my story and how the Lord has truly orchestrated every aspect of my life to bring me where I am right now. And so I just think I was really, really angry with the world at how we were dealing with COVID, mainly because, as a healthcare worker, I felt so helpless laying there and seeing my colleagues, working and struggling through all of this, the pandemic and all the stress on their jobs. And so, and then the way that the world didn't really embrace the safety precautions that were put in front of us, like wearing masks and washing your hands, just basic things. And so that is one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of tell my story, because when you don't really know anyone who had COVID, you don't really embrace it as something that you need to worry about, or you need to protect yourself or prevent yourself from spreading it. So that's another reason why I really want to tell people that there are people out there that are still dealing with complications from COVID if they had it, even if they had it mildly. I had it pretty severely. I had scarring of my lungs. I lost all my hair. I had brain damage. I'm still not able to work out of my home, so I'm working from home full time. And so I'm still dealing with memory loss, and sometimes I don't even know what I don't remember. So I'm one of those long haulers, and so I still deal with depression. And so it's just really not something you can play with. You don't want this. And so I just want to just share with people that we just got to be careful. We can't live in fear, but we definitely need to be careful and follow the protocols that are being put in place for us to keep our family safe and ourselves safe.
Wow. I can't even imagine. And you mentioned that you were on the machine, right? The breathing machine,
Right.
For what, 29 days?
Actually, I was on the vent for 15 days, but I was in the hospital for 29
Hospital for 29. Wow.
Mhm.
So did you have any, they say there's all these different symptoms, right?
Mhm.
When you ended up getting COVID-19, did you have all these symptoms? Did you experience what symptoms did you get? And then also, at what point did you realize that, okay, I might have COVID-19. I need to go get seen?
Right. Well, like I said, it was early on when the pandemic had just started. So some of the symptoms that I was having was aching joints. And I just kind of felt like I had the flu. So I had aching joints, and I had a headache, and I had a temperature. I didn't have anything was going on, no coughing. I still had taste and smell. So back in the very beginning, that was one of the the things that you saw first was the coughing, and also the temperature and the no smell, right? And so eventually my smell went away. I still have periods now where I can be getting ready to enjoy a good juicy hamburger and then taste it, and I'm like, this doesn't have any flavor, and then I know that my taste has gone. So I still, from time to time, still experience those things. But that's what I started having: the joints, the temperature, and the chills. And then I had an opportunity to speak with one of my colleagues that happens to be a paramedic. And this was very, like I said, it was very in the beginning. And he said, get to the hospital. And my husband was like, okay, he took me to the hospital. But the thing about it, now you're in the military, and I used to work in the healthcare field. But when we pulled up to the hospital, and this was a very eerie thing, is that there were tents outside of the hospital, and the military was there, and there were lines of cars, and then people out, the healthcare workers had their isolation gear and holding metal, their little clipboards and their mask and everything, and they were covered from head to toe, and they were walking up to the cars, and then all this lines of cars, waiting to get into the hospital. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? What? Because when I actually finally got into the hospital, they wouldn't let my husband come in, and the doctor said, call your husband and tell him to just go home. And that was the very last time I saw him until 29 days later, and he picked me up. And so that was the scary thing, the isolation. And then just even the ambulances, they pulled them up, and they had to check them before they allowed them to go into the hospital. So it was just really, really eerie to think, oh my God, I have this thing that everybody is dying from. You know what I'm saying? So it was quite eerie.
Wow. I can't even, first of all, it's like being separated from a loved one is tough enough. I mean, I know about the separation because, again, I served in the military for 20 years, and it was months, and even year, me being separated, from family. But it's a different ball game when you don't know if you're going to make it or not. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, my husband, you told me to tell my husband he got to go.
Right.
And here it is. I'm in a hospital fighting for my life. I don't even know if my husband's going to see me. And I'm sure on his side, he was probably like, am I going to see my wife again? You know what I mean? I can't even imagine like the feeling and emotion that both of you could have been going through in that moment. It's just like, I know you probably were like, I don't have my husband, but your husband was probably like, I feel helpless. Because this is my wife. I'm supposed to be her protector. I'm supposed to be there for her. And they're telling me I can't do anything but just sit and wait. Wait, and pray. You know what I mean? So that had to be tough on him. But Terri, I want to get a little bit, I know you got a lot of it is in your book. You talked about it, but I want to go a little bit deeper about just the experience of just being there and being isolated, and then we'll come back. So I'm gonna go to commercial break and we'll come right back.
All right.
Well, as we can see, one of our sponsors for tonight's show is none other than myself. That is the book My Walk Past Hell, Volume 2, The Men, that dropped January 6th. It is an Amazon #1 bestseller. Congratulations again to the guys. And so let me tell you, it was a total of 9 men in the book. 8 of them really, really dove deep into their actual story. And when I tell you, you think women got stories, but when men share their truth, it's like on a whole nother level. Plus, they had more words to write. So it's definitely a book to actually get and read. And I'm thankful that they were vulnerable enough to share their story. So if you're looking to get a copy of the book, you can go to hiswalkpasthell.com, or you can go to Amazon, or you can go to one of the actual people that were the authors in the book themselves and get an autographed copy. And a lot of them are also sending it along with a free gift too as well. So support these guys, support the movement, the My Walk Past Hell family movement, and be on the lookout because you never know what Dr. Yolanda Jerry got up her sleeve next go around. All right, so Terri, I want to go into the part about now that you're separating, you're in this isolation because you mentioned being isolated. And I know the hospital can be chaotic. Now, you being a registered nurse, you're used to helping people, right? Used to help. I know y'all could be the worst patients. Now, this is just what I hear, from people. I'm not judging, but this is what I hear from the people in the medical field. We are the worst patients, but we have so much love and having a caring heart and want to help and serve and help people heal. But what was that experience like for you, knowing that, okay, I'm the one that's usually out on the front line helping people, but now it is people have to take care of me?
Right. Well, I will say that I was very sympathetic towards the workers. You can see their frustration. You can see their anxiety. They were very, very fearful. Coming in the room, you can just kind of, I worried for them, because I just remember with this one aide, you can tell she had just came on shift and she had her mask on and she had her shield up and she had all of her isolation gear and she's pulling her blood pressure cuff and she's just sweating and you can just tell she could hardly breathe. And I'm like, wait a minute, honey, just sit out. They didn't want to stay in the room long because, they didn't want to increase their risk of exposure. So I was very empathetic, but I was so weak that I really could not really respond. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I'm usually a horrible patient. I'm a horrible patient. I'm like, wash your hands. You didn't do that right.
Right.
I'm terrible. But I was just so humbled by the amount of frustration and anxiety that I saw in my colleagues as they tried to care for me. I know one very specific time, I just saw the best in nursing care. And during my time when I was at Oakwood, one day I was just so very frustrated and lonely and just scared. And I remember I was just sitting on the side of the bed and one of the nurses, just because my hair was all over the place and I was just horrible. And she just started just raking my hair and had my head on her stomach. And it was at that point where, you just need your mama.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She just raked my hair and just told me it was going to be okay. And I think that is the type of care that I received, from the healthcare workers. So being in isolation was horrible, but they became my new family. You know what I'm saying? For this time, I was there for 29 days. They cheered for me. They walked by the door and waved at me. Fortunately, my sister-in-law is an R.E.A.L, and she worked in the same hospital as I was in. And so she was able to give reports to my husband. I cannot even imagine, what would have happened if she wasn't able to see me and give that report to my husband and my mother and my children. So that was a lifeline, definitely. But the isolation was horrible. People, you hear about people, dying without their loved ones there. And it was just, you have, I don't know, I had nothing to measure that. I can't even explain how difficult it was, to just not be able to have my family, but having the healthcare workers there, from the lab techs to the nurses, from even maintenance, was just a blessing.
Wow. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you said what you said, just being it, because you were helpless, right?
Mhm.
But then to know that there were people probably just like you, that were caring and they were keeping your anxiety down, and I don't think that the medical folks don't get enough, they don't get, everything that they should get. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of you still are underpaid,
Mhm.
especially in this COVID time. And then a lot of them are quitting, but you still got the ones that are still there. That's just not even about the dollar. They're there because that's their calling. That's that's what they've called to do. This is something they enjoy doing. But
Mhm.
I know it's a big strain,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? They're there to serve, they're there to help, they're there to love, they're there to, you know, um, console the people, to let them know, what, you're not alone. Because
Right.
I'm telling you, being in a hospital, it can be lonely sometimes, especially if you don't have no family. The nurses are the
Mhm.
ones that are there. That's family. I hear my daughter talk about, she's in, nursing school right now, her senior year at University of South
Mhm.
Alabama.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
and she works part-time at the hospital. And
Mhm.
to hear her come back and tell me her stories,
Mhm.
it just warms my heart, to know the stories that she comes and tells me. And she was like, Mama, she said, sometimes I'm the only person that they know.
Mhm.
And so to know that there's people with hearts like that to care for patients such
Mhm.
as yourself and other people, I thank you. I
Mhm.
thank you for what you do. Everyone in the medical field for what they do.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't realize how important, medical professionals are to us until you're in a position where it's like you don't know what's
Mhm.
going to happen next.
Yeah. And
You know?
that's why I think, I would like to really just make this announcement that we have to do what we can to prevent ourselves from being hospitalized. COVID is out there. Our healthcare workers are overworked. I was talking to my sister-in-law is a nurse, my daughter-in-law is a nurse, my nieces. I have a lot of medical professionals in my family, nurse practitioners. And so they're working in the medical field, and they have patients lined up in the hallways now. I mean, I know we want to forget and over, let's get over this. We've been dealing with it for long enough. And so sometimes we want to put this blind eye, like this is not, like COVID is gone, and it's not. And so
Right.
there's so many people that work in the medical field, and they are working hard and they're working short. And so the least we can do as a society is to do the things that we need to do to prevent ourselves from getting sick. Washing your hands, wearing your mask. I understand that there's a lot of people who don't want to get the injection, but do the other things. Wash your hands and wear your mask. We're preventing breaking that chain of infection by maintaining our universal precautions. Keeping our hands clean, and also wearing your mask, preventing the pathogen from leaving your lungs. So
Hmm.
I mean, we can at least do that, and that's how we show our healthcare workers that we care about them, and that we support them by just being safe.
Right. I totally agree. Let me tell you, I'm like my mom, I'll never forget, and like you said, whether you get the vaccine or not, you just
Mhm.
want to make sure that you're taking safety precautions.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, not long ago, just being out, you'd be amazed at so many people that are walking around without masks.
Yeah.
And even the people that say, oh, I got my COVID vaccine. Okay, you can still get COVID.
Right.
And some people think that, or they think that I got enough, I got enough antibodies that I'm not gonna get COVID. Come
Mhm.
on, like,
Mhm.
why are you still testing your life?
Right. Well,
Every
you
day.
you cannot get it. I mean, or you can get it, and not have a bad reaction,
Mhm.
but you can still carry it and give it to someone who
Somebody else.
hasn't been, hasn't had the injection, the vaccination, and then they can get it and actually, die. And
Mhm.
so one of the things, like I was saying, I had that survivor's guilt, but I also would hate, I was so, when I went to the hospital and I found out I had COVID, in the beginning, it was like this embarrassment. How did I get this? I was so worried about who I was around. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God, did I give this to someone else? I had went and got my nails done. I had my hair done. I started thinking about all of these families I could have impact. And I think that, like you were saying, that COVID is going to be with us for a while. And we do have to, and somehow kind of learn to live with it. But we can't, ignoring that it exists is just,
Right.
you can't do that. But we do have, there's things that you can do to prevent the spread. And walking out and being, just not really thinking about our neighbors and not thinking about the healthcare workers by doing something as easy as putting on a mask and washing your hands. I mean, I don't know. I just get so overwhelmed when I really think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that I know, that I see, on TV as a number, that died from this. And the only thing I'm asking you to do is to put on a mask and wash your hands, and I could prevent someone from getting sick. I don't understand why that's an issue. And that's just me. I know everybody has their own feelings about this, but this is not a political issue. This is a human, this is a human issue.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just really passionate
No,
about this. Obvious.
no, I appreciate you, speaking from the heart,
Mhm.
because sometimes, like you said, people will sugarcoat this thing like this is not real out here,
Mhm.
but it's real. This actually, this is like a invisible disease that's out here, and we don't even know if we're gonna contract it or not. And you
Right.
can't see it. It's vapor. You cannot see it.
Right. And I
You know.
guess the thing about it as well is you don't know how you're going to respond to it either. And that's the thing that really, um, it just really, you know, some people, my husband had it, but he had no symptoms at all, not one. And so he was actually tested for COVID and he showed positive, but he had no symptoms. But then he went back, like, I think it was like a month later, and was tested again, and he had no antibodies, none.
Mm.
And so he had no symptoms, had no, nothing at all. But me, on the other hand, I had all of this, so it's like you just never know how you're going to be impacted. So I don't know. It's really, we definitely don't want to walk in fear for sure, but just do the basics, wash your hands and wear a mask, and just be conscious of that. I think when I wrote my book, it really wasn't about COVID. It's not really about COVID, actually. And so it's really about when I came home from the hospital, I lost a lot of my memory. And I really didn't know what I didn't know.
Mhm.
And for me, my brain was extremely important to me because I worked really hard on it, growing up with a learning disability. And so I literally started to just journal because my doctor said, just start to write about your life and things that you remembered. And I looked at my resume and I was thinking, oh my gosh, why am I a teacher? Why am I a nurse? I look kind of confused. I'm a hairdresser. I have a cosmetology license. I'm a
Wow.
certified legal nurse consultant. And it's like, this looks like a confused woman. How in the world did you, get to this point? And, when you're back and you're looking at your life and you're trying to figure out, how did I get here? And so I literally had the opportunity to really look back at my life and really journal about my relationship with my husband and my jobs and working in ministry, and really just rediscovering why I made decisions the way that I did. And so the book is really about me rediscovering my path. I used to feel like I was being punished because I
Mhm.
struggled with a lot of different things. Like I had thyroid cancer, I had, like I said, learning disability. I had a lot of different things that happened to me physically with my health over the years. But doors closed in my face for promotions and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so what I was able to do in my writing was my book is really about my story and my journey. And I recognized that, man, God really opened these doors and closed these doors and pushed me in this direction. He literally orchestrated every bit of my life, even getting COVID,
Mm.
because it was because of COVID, I was able to find my voice and to be able to embrace the fact that, the gifts that he's given me or the gifts that he did not allow me to get was all in his will. It was his grace. So I am just so the name of my book is Grateful for the Journey Surviving COVID-19. It's really, and I think people kind of shy away from it because they're like, I'm sick of hearing about COVID-19. But if COVID, what I would like to for people to recognize is that this is a time for reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Reflect on your life, where you've been, what you've been doing, and also what have you not been doing, and what gifts are you wasting, because the world really shut down and it stopped, and it's almost like, well, wait a minute, it was just the world stopped. So it's like, okay, it's time. Everybody had time to just slow down enough and really start thinking about, am I living out my purpose? Am I doing the things that I've always wanted to do? Am I being my best person? And so we had a minute in our, and not in our lifetime have we had a time where the whole world shut down and said, just stay home and enjoy your family and think. And it's like, what a great opportunity for us to really evaluate who we are, what we are, and what we want to do, and just start over and start walking it out. And I think for me, that's what COVID did for me. So that's why I'm grateful, although it, almost took my life. And of course, we lost so many people, but for the people who are here, it gave us an opportunity to really evaluate our life, and walk out our purpose.
Wow, I thank you for sharing it. Before we go to another commercial break, I want to ask the question, how long did it take you? Because, you said it was 29 days that you were hospitalized. How long did it take you to come back to where you felt like, you were somewhat able to be able-bodied and move at a normal pace?
Mm. It took quite a while because I had a lot of physical issues. Like I had to, get my strength back with walking. I had my hand and eye coordination was really impacted by it. And so it took quite a while. I actually, when I came home from the hospital, they wanted to send me to a rehabilitation facility because I was really struggling in some areas. But, back then I was recovering from COVID and I would go into like a nursing home and they were already immune compromised. They didn't want me around them. So my husband was able to, because of God, move things around. So he was home. And so he was able to take care of me. And so with him nursing me back to health, that was a major, that helped in me recovering a lot faster than I would have, because it was more physical. Yeah, I got over that for a couple of months, but the mental thing I'm still dealing with. Absolutely.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Well, I know, like you said, the mental thing is something you still struggle with. Let me tell you, let me go and put that out there too. Thank God for therapists, whether it's physical therapists or mental health professionals, because I mean, just having to deal with knowing that we got to deal with COVID every day is stressful
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
and not knowing, okay, when am I going to get to see any of my loved ones anymore? Or is life going to ever get back to normal? Or like you said, just dealing with, I mean, people deal with PTSD, after having, people think, oh, PTSD is just a military thing. No, it's not. Post-traumatic stress syndrome comes from anything that you've dealt with that was very stressful, right? Anything that was very traumatic. So I thank God for, the therapists out there, just all the medical professionals who have to maneuver and help other people with this COVID stuff. Because it's not, like I said, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So thank you so much. Well, before we go into all of the other things, because the one part that I love about my show, it's always about how the trauma event or the past trauma has birthed other things into purpose when it comes to that particular person. So I want to talk more about what have you been able to do, the things that you have coming up and that you've been able to launch since COVID and having to sit and be still, and say, okay, God, what next? So we'll be back as soon as we come back from the commercial break.
All right.
And our other sponsor for tonight is Go Fig Company. Founder is Rita M. Green. If you need somebody to help you with your automation, you need somebody to help you with your graphics, your website, your virtual conferences. Look, the list goes on and on. They can help you out. You can reach them at www.gofig, which is GEAUXFIG.com. Again, that is GoFig Company. Website is www.gofig.com. And I'm just going to say, GoFig Company does a lot of great work. I know because I'm a loyal client. So I'm going to get off that soapbox. All right. So, Terri, so look, you mentioned earlier. And for those of you that are just now tuning in, we are talking with Terri Brinston. She shared a story about surviving COVID-19. So if you missed the beginning part of this, make sure you go back and watch the replay and make sure that just share it out with some people that you know who are trying to actually just survive COVID-19 right now. She shares some nuggets about how to, make sure that you stay safe and protecting yourself, not be selfish, right? And think about the people that are around you. So Terri, look, be still. That's what you said earlier, right? Being in COVID-19. So what are some of the things that even through this whole entire COVID journey that you had to endure? I know it's something that had to be birthed because of it. I always believe that, something's birthed because of our past pain. So what is something that was birthed because of COVID for you? And then also, share with us some of the other things that you have going on that you want people to know about, whether it's events, whether it's upcoming other books, or just anything that you want to know. And then also close with some, words of encouragement to give people hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Well, I think I'll start by saying that, when we were shut down while we're going through this pandemic, people are saying, I want to get back to normal. Let's get back to normal. Well, one of the things I recognize is I had an opportunity to reflect what was normal. What was normal, that is my life was out of balance. What was normal at that point before COVID is that I wasn't serving the Lord at the capacity that I felt that I needed to. What was normal was my relationship with my husband. We were not spending a lot of, we have a great relationship, but it wasn't a priority. I didn't put him at that value. I was overworked. I didn't have balance in my life. And so that was normal. And I think that COVID, what it made me do was recognize that I didn't want to go back to normal. I wanted to be better. I wanted to put God as the center at the beginning of my life and literally walk out what he wants for me. And I could say that. I said that all the time, but I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? You know how we say, oh, I want God to be number one. But then we look at where are we actually putting our time? Where are you putting your treasures? Is that your priority? So what I recognize that I didn't want to go back to normal. I want to spend time with diving into my word. I want to know God's word. I want to have a personal relationship with him and feel his presence in my life. I want to walk out the calling that he has for me to do. And he has given me such a passion to work with young people. I work with young people who have barriers that prevent them from being successful. And so through that, I recognize that there's a lot of kids that were just like I was, right? They struggled with low self-esteem. They struggled with just recognizing that they had any gifts within them. And so I love working with young people. And so I've had the opportunity to work with young people as a teacher. And I teach like a vocational program, but not at the level where I believe that the Lord had planted that seed. And so my new normal is working with busy parents and equipping their young adults with skills that set them on a path for independence and success. And so I do that through a program that I've been doing in my classroom for over 24 years. And so I want to work with these parents who have these young people who your kid is like, I love my kid. He is gifted, but sometimes you gotta wipe that some of that stuff off so you can kind of see the gifts. And so I like to work with young people that are struggling with striving, that are struggling with their confidence, and they don't really know where to start. And so I work with young people in that capacity. And also my new normal is speaking. Love having the opportunity to be on your show. And so I've had an opportunity to be on many stages, working with the Women's Success Group, working with Tina Ramsey in her homeschooling magazine. First time I was in a magazine, I was like, I'm so excited. And she gave me an opportunity to do like a little video too. So shout out for Coach Tina Ramsey and what she's doing with homeschooling. I'm also a part of Tiffany D. Bell Affirmation for a Woman on a Mission. It's a collaborative anthology. And so I'm so excited about that. I also do a weekly podcast. It's called Be Extraordinary with my co-host Carla Saunders. And what we do is talk about just being extraordinary, because we all have these gifts and things that we have really pushed down and not really have allowed ourselves to shine for whatever reason. And so we talk about, hey, walk out there and be your best self unapologetically. And so that's some of the things that I'm doing. I'm so excited. And so I am so grateful that God has shown me my voice and allowed me to use it. And he's been opening doors and allowing me to meet, wonderful people like you, Dr. Yolanda. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for this next chapter of my life as I turned 55. So I'm just really looking forward to just being extraordinary in this last chapter of my life. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, you definitely got a lot of things going on, which is
Yeah.
a great thing, especially the part about the children. I have like this little piece of me that's just like, everybody's children is my children sometimes. Just like, you want to make sure that they're set up for success. And
Right.
the way the world is nowadays, it's just like you have parents out there, but then
Mhm.
the children are out there having to basically grow their own selves because
Mhm.
some parents are too busy, or some parents their kids are in broken households,
Right.
or you have them in foster care system with foster parents who are just collecting a check.
Mhm.
That's a whole nother ball game right there. I could talk about that all day.
Mhm.
But to know that we have people like you that still want to be out there to encourage and teach and educate these children, and let them know they can be somebody. Look, I'm living proof. I'm the example. If anything, I want to be the example for the children to follow, not let them be looking at the example in the streets, or
Right.
let what they see on TV be the example. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for just having a heart, just for the children. um,
Amen.
and then the fact that you decided to come from behind,
Mm.
I'm so excited about that and seeing Terri all over the place. Lights, camera, action. Look. Coming from behind the scenes and coming to the forefront, because I believe that when we put our story out there,
Mhm.
we don't realize how important it is that it's really helping somebody else. It's
Mhm.
not for us.
Yeah.
It's never for us. It's to help somebody else overcome, help somebody else heal, and also provide them the tools that they might not even have in their toolbox. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited about all that God is going to be doing for you, your family, your business, everything that you have going on in this next chapter, next phase of your life. And
Mhm.
I thank you for being on my show. And you do not look like you're in your 50s. I don't know where they come from. I'm just like, man, nowadays, I'm like, you are aging gracefully. And look, I hope I look just as good as you when I reach your age.
Hey man, I blame that on my mom. She's beautiful.
Wow. Well, hey,
Yeah,
it
thank
comes
you.
from somewhere.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. I do want to mention that my organization, I started a nonprofit. It's called Nurturing Wellness Group Foundation, and we started that so that we could find different grants and get donations so that we can not only work with, the families who can afford it, but we want to work with the young people who can't afford it, like the foster care
mhm.
and the kids that have substance abuse, or they have family members in incarcerated family members. And so that's one of the things that you'll probably see more of us trying to get the word out to help fund the services that we provide to young people and teenagers as well. Mhm.
Oh, good. Congratulations. That's awesome. Well, look, stay in touch. I always like to support, people doing great things and being able to pour into their foundations, especially if it's for, the youth. I mean, because they're the ones that's going to be replacing us once we're dead and gone. So we want to make sure that they are ready,
Yeah,
to replace us when we're dead and gone. So
absolutely.
let's stay connected. I'd like to know more about, what you and your foundation are going to be doing in the future.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to ask you, is there anything that you want? Well, first of all, if there's people who want to reach out to you,
Mhm.
how can they connect with you? Whether it's social media, whether it's, website or email or anything like that.
Right. The best way to contact me is through my website, terribrinston.com. It's easy. You have access to my foundation, some of the books that I've written. Also, I have a for-profit as well. It's called My School Nurse. And so that's the best way to kind of get in touch with me is through terribrinston.com. Absolutely. Also on
Awesome.
Facebook and all of that, but that's my website.
Got it. Well, I went on and dropped it down in the chat like it was hot so that way they can reach out to you. So
Perfect.
before we close out, I want to ask, is there any encouraging words or a message that you would like to leave with the viewing audience that tuned in tonight to listen to your story that you can leave with them at
Yeah,
all?
you know, being a high school teacher and being around young people, I've had just an opportunity to really see that our young people are struggling right now, and they are like 2 years behind because of what's going on with COVID. So I would just encourage you to just take that time and really check on your young people that are in your life. And I don't mean like how you doing, I mean sit down, have a conversation with them, take them on a walk, watch a movie together, read a story, literally just be there for them and let them know that you're there for them. Our young people right now are really, really struggling. I've never, after 24 years of teaching, I have over 90 students, and probably 75% of them are seeing counselors. That is just unknown. I mean, I'm glad that they're seeking and getting help. And I do work in the type of district that, they're afforded to be able to do that. But some of our other districts, they may not have the finances. So I just encourage churches, you got some work to do. Community leaders, you got work to do. These kids out here are struggling, and we definitely want to start praying for them and pouring into them every opportunity that you get.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. And you're right. We need to, I thank God for therapists, but
Mhm.
even outside of that, we need the other piece today is the nurturing piece,
Mhm.
as if we were that family member or that mother, that father figure.
Mhm.
You can deal with the medical piece side of that, but then also what about the love, the care, and the compassion from someone that they know?
Yeah,
We
even the
need,
neighbors. Like if
Mhm.
we have kids in our neighborhood, we just make sure that we, say hi to them. It doesn't cost you much, let them know you can come over here and play on our basketball rim, or, let them, if I get extra milk, I take it across the street. I think
Right,
people just need to see a sense of community right now, since
right.
everybody's been distant and away, people just kind of living in their own little pods,
Mhm.
so I think we just need to really bring back that community. It's needed more now than ever before.
Oh, I agree. Because I remember back in the day, it's like, it used to be like, I'm out of sugar. My mom be like, we out of sugar. Go knock on your neighbor door and see if we can borrow some sugar. I was like, what you gonna get
Right.
the sugar back? They was like, no, but I'm sure they're gonna need to borrow it back one day.
Absolutely. And then now, we don't even know our neighbors.
Mhm.
I remember years ago, I was doing one of my rounds at the hospital, and I saw this lady, and she came up to me, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she says, "Oh my, you look so familiar." And I said, "I should. I've been living next to you for the last 10 years. How do you not know me?" So we don't know our neighbors. So we do need to start paying attention to that for sure.
I agree because you never know something can happen, especially if somebody's used to seeing you, come and go, and then all of a sudden they don't see you coming and going. You
Right.
could be in your house, laid out on the floor.
Amen.
Something could be wrong, and so that's why it's always best to get to know the people around us. So thank you for bringing that up, and then also you heard her churches and community leaders, y'all need to get back out there. I know COVID is out here, but that doesn't mean we cannot reach out to these children. So
Mhm.
thank you
Absolutely.
so much for sharing. I appreciate you. So for those of you who came in and tuned in or just tuning in, go back and watch the replay. Our guest tonight was none other than Miss Terri Brinston, where she shared a story about COVID-19 and surviving COVID-19. So if you know someone who is battling COVID-19 or who is just trying to survive and get through all of these things, share this broadcast with them. Maybe they can take something away from it, or if they want to reach out to her because she is a registered nurse, so she might be able to provide some kind of insight even on the medical side too as well. So this concludes our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If
Awesome.
nobody has told you today, I'm going to tell you. But look, before I tell you what I need to tell you, be sure to tune in to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every week we have a different guest. We talk about different topics, but most of the time our topics is about how we have gone through some past traumas and how that past trauma has pushed us into our purpose or birth other things that God has called us to do. So if nobody has told you tonight, I'm going to tell you. If nobody has told you that they love you,
Amen.
know that I love you, but most of all, God loves you as well. So take care, be blessed, and we will see you again back here, same time next week.
Bye.